Today, we're going to talk about the CRP pedals from Moza. We're going to be doing a little review and let you guys know what I actually think to the pedals. Kind of maybe give you an alternative. In today's video, we're going to be checking out the CRP pedals from Moza and giving you guys a little review and my experience using the CRP pedals. We've owned them now for 3 weeks. There's going to be no unboxing, nothing like that. I'm just going to talk about what I think and show you some of the problems that I've had with the CRP pedals and possibly give you an alternative on a cheaper side and not have to upgrade your pedals too much. So let's start off with the CRP pedals. Okay, the unboxing experience is as always good from Moza. It all comes well packaged and in the premium products as they are. Now fitting them to the base plate was actually quite straightforward, a little bit tight. Where I think the CRP pedals lack is the ability to spread them apart from each other. I feel like they should have had, like, you should be able to split them apart a little bit. I didn't like how close they were when I tried to use shoes. I couldn't actually use shoes with the pedals because they was too tight together. So that was a little bit of an issue for me. One of the issues I didn't like also was they included 4 bolts but no nuts. So you couldn't actually bolt them to your rig if you didn't have any alternative. I actually saw a review on this, someone complaining in the review part, like, well, how am I going to bolt them to the rig? And I thought it was like a one-off case scenario, but it turns out they did the same to me too. They don't include any nuts to bolt them to a rig. So bear that in mind. The other thing I didn't like was the base plate itself. On the edges of the base plate, it's really sharp, and resting your foot on there, it isn't a comfortable experience. And also I feel like the base plate where your footrest is a little bit too short. And they include this little stand, this little strip of stand sort of thing to go on the end of the pedals. I feel like that should just be in one fitted place instead of having the option to be able to put it into 3 different places where your pedals should go. It's kind of confusing. I didn't like that either. Now the pedals themselves, all 3 pedals offer a different experience and different ways of the way they feel. The accelerator has a nice long throw with a soft spring, and it's kind of softer than you'd experience in real life. I feel like it's like a really soft BMW pedal is exactly how it feels to me. Don't know if I like that or not, but it does feel really good. The brake pedal comes standard with a yellow spring and a really soft rubber. Now that for me was a little bit too soft. I felt like I could press it too easy and it didn't feel too realistic. Now I upgraded to the red spring and kept the soft rubber in, and then that kind of felt more of a harder ABS brake pedal, more like, you know, a really stiff pedal, and I didn't quite like that either. So I then moved the where you bolt the front of the pedal to down one, and that gives a more realistic feeling with the red spring and the soft rubber. And it kind of dampens the spring to 50%, and then the rest, then the rubber will then sponge away. And I felt like that offered more of a realistic feeling. Also with the brake pedal, we had an issue where it clicks. It does this weird clicking thing on the front. I believe it's the angle sensor. I believe when you press it, there's a bolt and it clicks. It's like it's too tight. It's like it's not been lubricated properly. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't looked into it too much. I did see another person with a similar issue. I undid mine and it hasn't done it too much since. The clutch pedal, I really do like the clutch pedal, but I feel like it could have been perfected a tiny little bit more. When you press the clutch pedal, it has like a really soft start, and then it gets stiffer, and then it's sort of a biting point. It's like a 3-stage clutch. It feels like a very realistic clutch, but on the end of the press, when you're in the mode, you know, racing mode, and you're in a manual, I feel like the end of it should have been cushioned a little bit, maybe with a really soft rubber to stop the banging on the end of the clutch. It doesn't really feel realistic in that regards to the end of the biting point, where in a car it'd feel a little bit more spongier and a bit more resistance on the end, and it feels like it's just banging. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like the 3-stage part, because some cars in the game, the biting point were nowhere near the biting point on where the Moza pedals had it set up. Now you can adjust this in the Moza software to get it to work, so it's kind of like an irrelevant thing that's annoying, but it can be resolved with just adjusting the software biting point and then having it to correlate with the pedal and the game, so it doesn't really matter too much. Overall, the quality of the pedals is absolutely amazing. You definitely are paying for the premium product here. You're paying for the CNC machine, that you're paying for the finish, you're paying for the look, and the way they are a brilliant pedal. I can't take this away from the product. For £450, you're definitely getting £450 worth of product, but there is an alternative. Now, if you have Moza already and you have the Moza SRP lights or the SRP load cells, there's upgrades. You can actually just upgrade your pedals and make them feel better. Now, for me, I have both pedals. I have the CRP pedals and I have the SRP load cell, right? And the main differences for me are the way they look, okay? The massive changes on the way they look. One is like a very premium product and the one is like middle area of kind of like where you'd see all the other pedals sat at that price point, okay? But you can upgrade the springs on the load cell, okay, and change the rubber, change the springs, and make it feel more realistic. And then you can get mods from a company called 3D Wrap. Now, I weren't ever going to make a review on these, but now I have the SRP pedals with the springs in the pedals, all of them, and now feel like it's a good time to touch up on this and maybe give a little bit of feedback to 3D Wrap, because I didn't actually like the design. I didn't really like the way they felt. Now going back to them after using the CRP pedals, I actually really like them. So I'm going to show you right now what mods you can get for the SRP pedals to make them feel like a £500 set of pedals. Here we go. So here is the mods. And one of the biggest things I didn't like about the pedals was the spring. I feel like they cheaped out on the spring. I don't know what it is with the spring, but it made loads of loud noises. I don't know if you can see closer. I don't know if my camera will focus. Well, I used grease, I used Vaseline, I used WD-40 to stop these springs from making a horrible noise. Like when you press the pedal, like when you do it really slowly and you're trying to like feather the throttle or feather the clutch, it made this like twanging noise, like you open an old door. I didn't like that too much. The other thing I didn't like about them was the way they're mounted, okay? So as you can see here, we have two bolts and you basically clip them like this. So we have a nut and a bolt and then you tie them together and then they slot in this little rivet here. I feel like they could have done it where it goes all the way through, but then the spring would then touch that bolt. So I do quite understand it a little bit. And the other thing that really bugged me is why I'm mentioning the way it's bolted is because what happens is when you press the pedal, I don't know if you'll be able to see it here. When you press the pedal, this plastic catches the metal part on the pedal. So it starts to make this noise. You hear that? That's annoying. Now, other than the noise, and sometimes the way they feel, because this will make it feel a little bit weird. You'd have to like move the thing left and right. You can adjust these as well. You probably maybe like tighten these bolts up at the side to make them not do that. I don't really know, but they just bend for me. And it'd be really annoying, but they're about £50 for the mod, and I'm not gonna lie, they changed the experience so much. On the basics SRP light pedals and the SRP load cells pedals, the accelerator and the clutch feel dead. There's no real resistance there, there's no real feeling there, and they just feel really poor. There's just not this, I don't know, you don't get a lot of feedback from them. These mods from 3D Sim are actually fantastic. Now I actually got these sent out for free. I was going to do a video on them, but they really annoyed me. But now I've bought the CRP pedals and comparing them to the SRP with the mods, it's actually really hard to tell which is better. This is like actually crazy. Other than the annoying thing, if you can figure it out to stop them making them noises by greasing them, moving the positions and tightening them up to the correct angle, they can be pretty good. But after a bit of an aggressive use, they become a bit annoying. But again, £450 for the CRP pedals, and I'd say less than £100 for the mods for the SRP pedals, and they don't feel much different. The difference is I actually prefer the accelerator on the mod from 3D Wrap on the SRP pedals than I do prefer the accelerator on the CRP pedals. Only reason is because the spring on the pedals that I've got down there, it feels a bit too soft for me. I don't really like how soft it is, and this has like a really nice linear like springy. It's really hard to explain, but it feels more realistic. The brake pedal on the other hand on the SRP pedals isn't very good, so I'm definitely upgrading the spring to a tighter spring and a better sponge or rubber, however you want to call it. My opinion now lies with what should you do if you have SRP pedals and you're thinking about upgrading to the CRP pedals. I would probably consider upgrading your SRP pedals to a mod from 3D Sim Wrap or somewhere else where you can get mods for them try that out, because I can't say they're worth the £450 difference. If you had a buyer for your pedals and you were spending 250 quid still upgrading your pedals, you ain't gonna get 200 quid for your pedals, are you? I don't know, it's really hard. I love the way the CRP pedals look, and I got them at a discount. I got them 20% off, so I paid £360 for them, and I thought that was a good deal. I thought, for me, that is probably the most I'm willing to pay at that point. I don't recommend them at 450 quid. I just can't. They're just too much money, in my opinion. They look great, and you are getting a premium experience for that money, but where you can upgrade your SRP pedals with mods and make them feel just as good as the CRP pedals, it doesn't really make any sense. I understand that the sensors in the CRP pedals may be a little bit better, the load cell may be able to handle a little bit more pressure, but you don't really need it. But I never noticed the difference in the braking power between the CRP and the SRP. I can't really say I've never noticed. I'll leave a link in the description of the mods that I've used in these pedals. I am going to be getting rid of these pedals and keeping the CRP pedals. At the end of the day, I bought them. I do like them, but I just wouldn't pay full price for them. Final verdict on what you should do if you have SRP lights or SRP load cell. If you're upgrading to the CRP, is I wouldn't bother. In my opinion, they don't feel any different if you have mods. Now, they look different, they're incredibly different, but who really cares about what they look like when you're not even looking at them when you're racing? Yeah, they look great. Yeah, they are manufactured very nicely. They have the imperfections, like I've said. I really can't recommend them for 450 quid just because they look nice. You know what I mean? And excessive amount of money, maybe then, yeah. But then I don't think someone with an excessive amount of money would buy these pedals, because they just upgrade to like the load cell hydraulic pedals. They wouldn't buy these at all. So who is this pedal for, really? Someone in the ecosystem from Moza, yeah, maybe. Because when you buy the R16, you're probably going to buy the CRP pedals, and you're going to buy everything you can that's best from Moza, in that opinion. But I don't think it's worth the upgrade. If you haven't got any pedals at all and you're considering buying the CRP pedals, and if you haven't got a tight budget, then I probably recommend them because they're great quality. But if you already have the SRP pedals and you're wanting to upgrade, I don't really think it's worth it for an additional 450 quid. Or $450 or whatever it is your currency is. I just don't think it's going to be worth it. I don't know if I can recommend them. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments below, what are your opinions on pedals? I believe we just get charged SIM tax. I think that's just a thing nowadays. I really can't understand the prices, the crazy prices, to be honest, of some stuff. It's just not unreal. And let me know if you bought the CRP pedals from the SRP pedals, and if you found them like any better. Would you recommend them yourself, or are you considering buying the CRP pedals? Let me know down in the comments below. Let's have a discussion about it. I don't think they're worth it, in my opinion.